Hello and welcome to Super Nintendo Classics. In this installment, the game is Final Fantasy IV, released by Squaresoft in 1991, near the launch of the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom. Final Fantasy IV was the second localized Final Fantasy game to appear in North America after the original Final Fantasy came out previously the year before for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy III had plans for localization for North America, but Square was a very small developer back then, and RPGs were costly, and it took a lot of time for a small developer to produce a localization. So they decided that when Super Nintendo came out in 1991, that they basically scrap all efforts to translate Final Fantasy II and Final Fantasy III and focus on translating Final Fantasy IV. They did, and the North American release of Final Fantasy IV became Final Fantasy II. And yeah, so let's play some of this. Final Fantasy IV is largely regarded as the first of the modern-day Final Fantasy games, although this game is, well over 20 years old. This is still, it's got all the elements that makes all the other Final Fantasy games since. This is sort of like the prototype of that. As Final Fantasy IV came out very close to the launch of the Super Nintendo, this game was not that much more advanced than a Famicom game, just with a better color palette. It's an amazing game, but there's still not a whole lot here that couldn't actually be done on the 8-bit platform. Even so, Final Fantasy IV is still one of the most iconic RPGs for the Super Nintendo and one of the most classic games of all time. Over the years, Final Fantasy IV has been remade many times. First for the PlayStation, it was ported to the PlayStation. It was ported to the Neo Geo Pocket, the Wonder Swan Pocket Color, not the Neo Geo Pocket Color. The Game Boy Advance. It was completely remade for the PSP, and that version is just spectacular. It's shown up on PlayStation Network. This game is all over the place. There are even crazy Chinese backports of this game to the original Famicom, which I just find hilarious. due to Nintendo's rather strict censorship policies at the time, this actually, the version that I'm playing here, is not the original translation that was done by Ted Wolski, but is actually a fan translation that basically more clearly mimics what is said in the original Japanese version. In many ways, Final Fantasy IV represents the very best ideals of what the Super Nintendo could, or what the Super Nintendo could accomplish. This is a game that has a complex story, and really for the first time, it showed that RPGs weren't just some niche thing; that they could actually be something big and huge. Since gamers didn't see Final Fantasy II or III, compared to the original game, this one was just such a monumental step forward that it just seemed like it came out of left field for North Americans. When I was young, I played this game via rental, and I remember trying to get as far as I could, within the 3 or 4 days I had the rental for. And this is the kind of game that you couldn't beat in a single rental. Like, you would need to rent the game again. And hope that, somebody didn't save over your save file or something like that. Go to bed. Cecil's such a badass, sleeping in his armor. Alright, so we set off Cecil and Kane. for the start of one of the greatest adventures on the Super Nintendo. Alright, so now we set off to the overworld. You can listen to the awesome music of this game. Take the gold pin. Cave of Mist. Goblins don't stand a chance. You know, even though Final Fantasy IV was the first of the Final Fantasy games for the Super Famicom and Super Nintendo, this is one that a lot of people generally regard as one of the very best Final Fantasy games ever made. Although, personally, I like the Final Fantasy games that came out after it a little bit more. I think Final Fantasy V gets kind of a bad rap, as it has a very predictable plot, and, you know, some of its characters aren't as memorable as the characters in Final Fantasy IV. But I overall think that FF5 is a little bit better than FF4, at least in some ways. And of course, Final Fantasy VI is a game I strongly feel is one of the very best games ever made. I want to get that. I wonder who always leaves these convenient chests around. Kind of weird, you know, if you think about it. The answer: yes, no, yay, no, yen, and no, I don't. Oh wait, that was the wrong answer. That's a weirdly phrased question. You don't intend to go back. Yes. Good old Miss Dragon. Do a jump, a dragoon jump. Whee! Which means I can't attack it. Otherwise, might as well just defend until it reforms. See, if I attack it, it doesn't do anything. Dark Wave again. Probably won't work. Although the meter isn't shown in the original version, this game does use the full range motion linear battle system that allows the players to take turns. So it's your turn, then it's the enemy's turn, it's your turn, and the enemy's turn. It's not just like it's not like a simply turn-based thing. It's this time-based thing. Let's go to the Village of Mist. Alright, And with that, I'll bring it to the end of the video. So again, this is Final Fantasy IV for the Super Nintendo, released in 1991. It's been remade several times. If you're looking for the best version of this game, I would highly recommend the PSP version. The PSP's 25th anniversary edition that includes also the After Years and a brand new version that takes place, like, sort of bridges between the After Years and the original version of the game. The PSP version is an incredible release. It's also available on the DS, and the DS version is in 3D and has voice acting for the cutscenes, and it's kind of neat. But I honestly prefer the PSP version because it's more similar to the original Super Nintendo in its aesthetic, and it's also just a phenomenal game on the go. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and once again, I'll see you guys next time.